Feel free to check out my TeePublic after the video, and support me on Patreon. Watch till the end of the video for more. There are a decent amount of Attack on Titan fans who will say that the live-action films aren't worth checking out and that, oh, they completely butcher the source material. However, me, being an Attack on Titan expert, and apparently thousands of Japanese fans, will tell you otherwise. Because of Hajime Isayama's heavy involvement in this epic production, there were lots of things that occurred, including plot elements that wouldn't even touch the pages of his best-selling manga until months and sometimes years later. And today we are going to focus on 5 things that the live-action Attack on Titan films either predicted or did first. But before we continue, I just want to let y'all know that we will be going into some pretty heavy spoiler territory. So if you haven't watched Attack on Titan, it'd probably be a good idea to click away. But without further ado, let us begin. Starting off, the live-action films were the first to give us an on-screen representation of a fight against the Armored Titan. During the 4-year gap between seasons 1 and 2, all we saw of the Armored Titan was during the Fall of Shiganshina arc as it broke through Walmaria. While we did see Eren fight the Armored Titan in the manga at this point, Attack on Titan End of the World delivers a titanic brawl between the two behemoths. And what better way to do so with some good old Tokusatsu. Obviously, lots of Attack on Titan fans wouldn't dare settle for this due to a lack of understanding of how Tokusatsu works on their part. But knowing what inspired Hajime Isayama to create this series to begin with, this fight feels right at home with the likes of a Godzilla movie and the War of the Gargantuas. And strangely enough, about a month or so after the release of Attack on Titan Part 2, the fight in the Return to Shiganshina arc against the Armored Titan is oddly similar to that of the live-action version in some ways. One of the biggest issues fans had with the films was that military technology existed in this universe. Well, it wouldn't be until the final arcs of Attack on Titan where military technology would be much more prevalent in the series. Yeah, try saying that the movies having guns were ridiculous when this exists. Granted, the military tech in each story comes from different periods, with the movies being more modern as the manga goes for an alternate World War II aesthetic. They each fit their respective stories very well, adopting themes related to the dangers of man trying to play God. Speaking of, one of the most interesting things the movies had to offer was giving an explanation for the Titan's existence, as well as what led to the fall of humanity. This interpretation gives us a rather outlandish yet believable origin for the giant man-eaters, where the Titans were the result of a serum developed in China, as well as a bioweapon developed in America. While pretty straightforward and nowhere near as convoluted and confusing as the Titans' origins in the manga, this origin really comes off as terrifying, as a big part of it was the world's nations growing mistrust amongst one another, leading mankind to essentially self-destruct at the hands of our own hubris. And if you want to know more, I made a whole video about this topic. When it turned out that Zeke was Eren's brother in the manga, everyone who was reading Attack on Titan at the time was like, "Say what?
Say what?
Say what?
Say what?
Say what?" But not me, because it turns out that a lot of Zeke's character was heavily borrowed from that of Shikishima. At the time the movies were being released, we barely even knew a thing about Zeke. Hell, we didn't even know his name at that point. We only ever rarely saw his Beast Titan form, and only saw what he looked like once. It wasn't until Attack on Titan Part 2, End of the World, where massive hints were being dropped when it came to Eren's relationship with Shikishima. It's heavily implied that Shikishima is Eren's brother, as he is also a Titan shifter, and even kinda looks like him, but with armored plating. But at the end of the Return to Shiganshina arc, which was happening a good bit after the movies came out, we find out that Zeke is Eren's half-brother, who also happens to be a Titan shifter. We also find out that when Zeke was young, he reported his father to the government. Well, that aspect was pulled directly from the novelization of the live-action films concerning Shikishima's backstory. Anti-government revolutionaries and all. Sorry, Titan fans. Without Shikishima, there wouldn't be one of the most compelling and interesting characters the manga had to offer. Lastly, the live-action films made it to the ocean first. While both versions of the story had that as a goal in mind, the manga wouldn't make it until the year following the live-action film's release. And while that scene with the ocean was to set up the next arc in the manga, the live-action films turned it into a celebratory moment as the Survey Corps rejoice after defeating the colossal titan and sealing Wall Sotono, as Eren proclaims that it is time for mankind to retake the world for themselves. That's all I got for this video. What are some things you notice in the live action films that came first? Drop a comment below, and if you like what you see, then definitely consider supporting me on Patreon, where for a single $1 you can get access to my Discord server. Other than that, you can also get early access to videos, exclusive content, commission video requests, and receive a t-shirt of your choice from my TeePublic. Once I reach enough patrons, I'll do a video covering several unmade Godzilla films, so if that's something you'd like to see, then go support me on Patreon. And go ahead and check out my other videos about Attack on Titan. Feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and this is TitanGoji, signing off.